What is happening, everybody? It's Sunday. It's another week of the Blitz. Guys, we are on week 2. It is time to get these championship lineups need to get started now so we can just easily coast. I hate fighting for it at the end. I don't know about you two, but I hate fighting for it. I like to just get right in there and be done. Like, let's be done by like week 6. Let's pummel our opponents so bad we're done by week 6. Everybody, I am joined by the best in the industry. Got at Justin FF. What is happening, my man? How we doing this morning?
Hey, wonderful. It's such an honor to be on the show this morning with, of course, Alex and the number one Aaron Rodgers right here in our presence. I'm probably gonna stumble all over my words, but so it's a beautiful look for you, Mike.
Gotta love it. And on the other side of me over there, we got Alex. Oh, what is happening, man? How you doing this morning?
Doing good. Got some yard work done already this morning. Ready for some football. You might hear the kid running around and yelling in the background, but we'll take care of that.
It's not really a Sunday Blitz if we don't have our families involved and whatnot. It's always an awesome dedication from you gentlemen. Just get away from you guys get away from your family for at least a couple hours, and let's help this community out. Let's get some titles. Anybody who's watching this right now, make sure you follow us at Toilets to Titles. We always have fresh information hopping off there. Go to toiletstotitles.com. There are some of the best writers in the industry in there, ready to just kind of give you insight that maybe you're not thinking of, and I'm almost guaranteeing you're not seeing this anywhere else. So get on there, get it done. While you're at it, join Patreon. It's only a few bucks a month to hop on our Discord, where we are like accessible 24/7. There's all of us. Like I said, I mean, there's quite a few of our team that's in Australia that just love to be up at 2 o'clock in the morning when you wake up to go pee. And it's like, man, I wonder who I should start. Guess what? You can just sit down. You can hop on. You can ask somebody like Ben or Matt or even Andrew Campy if you're that desperate. Just kidding, Andrew. Just kidding, Andrew. Just kidding. One love, buddy. One love. So let's go ahead and get rolling, guys. Rich says he follows the sexy gents. I can say I don't blame you, Rich. I don't blame you. And for anybody who's wondering what happened last week, and I do have a slight confession to make right here, is that if you saw that Green Bay lost last week and you saw exactly what happened on the field, it's because Aaron Rodgers paid me $12 to go be the Green Bay quarterback last week. The hard part was mimicking his voice in the post-game interview, but guys, I can't throw for crap. I think I told him that. That's why I told him $12, and that's why. But he's back. You can see I'm here now. Me and Aaron Rodgers aren't in the same room at this time. So they should be good to go today. So, guys, let's go ahead and hop in the questions. First one we've got is from Kelly Hosey. Do you want to go ahead and hop this one out there, Justin? This is one of your friends here.
Yeah, so Kelly follows me on Twitter and asks for some start-sit advice from time to time. So if you follow me on Twitter, you can find her. I just I shared a recent poll that she put out there. Her poll was James Robinson, Jarvis Landry, or Kenyon Drake. And I gave my advice on it already on Twitter, but I am interested to see what you guys have to say about it.
Yeah, I'd probably go Jarvis Landry. I was very discouraged by the James Robinson split with Carlos Hyde, and because the Jaguars just aren't going to be that good, so they're not going to be up by, they're not going to be up most of the time. And it clearly looks like Robinson's not going to get 90% of the work, which is what made him fantasy relevant last year. But I like Jarvis, especially with Odell out. I think he's going to be the number one target in that offense. So I'd probably go with him.
I'm going with Landry too. I can't get behind Kenyon Drake. I think it's a once bitten, twice shy type thing. Once I've been bit about 5 times by somebody, I do learn my lesson. That is what it took with Kenyon Drake. James Robinson, I agree. I don't really like the situation there that he has today. Denver's defense really kind of looked like they weren't no joke. Von Miller looks like he's playing with the new resurgence. They've got both sides of the line pretty well sealed up. It's going to be tough to run against them all season long. I'm definitely fading James Robinson. So it's almost Landry by default, although I think that it was Landry all along because I kind of like Landry without OBJ out there. He seems to not really do anything crazy exceptional, right? But he does seem to do enough to get the job done. Mm-hmm. So with that, we'll go ahead and get into a couple of our questions we got off of Sleeper. We got Abe John. He says, full PPR, he needs to pick a flex. He's got Jamar Chase, Mike Evans or Devin Singletary? Who do you guys like right there?
That's Mike Evans for me. Easy peasy. He's definitely. I know he didn't get a lot of work last week, but Brady knows that, and he's gonna hook him up today with a couple red zone targets and end zone targets. And because he's still the wide receiver 1 on that team, so I don't think it's even a contest for me.
Yeah, I agree. Yep, Mike Evans, definitely.
See, I like Mike Evans a lot. I feel like he has himself a bounce back week this week. So I think I can get on board with that one as well. So all three of us on Mike Evans. And book it, he says. Book it. The next one, Josh Crocker. Do you want to go ahead and handle this one too, Justin? It looks like it's one of your friends. Actually, really quick, let's see. Richard Gonzalez says, Kenyon Drake with Jacobs out. I mean, I understand that Jacobs isn't going to be part of the scene today, and I'm okay with the fact that he's going to be a good volume play. It's just even with him as a volume play, I'm really not dependent. I don't like the matchup. I'm still fading Drake. How are you guys still on the same page there?
Well, I actually told Kelly that I would go with Drake as well because of the volume play. And I agree, the matchup isn't juicy. But I also know that with that Cleveland offense, Jarvis Landry, to his credit, just like you said, he finds a way to make it happen. He got like 6.7 of those points on that 7-yard run, that reverse, which, by the way, he ran about 60 yards on that 7-yard play, and broke a few tackles along the way. That play was pretty sweet to watch. But yeah, Landry finds ways to make it happen. So I'm not upset with Landry as the advice there. Personally, I just think that Drake has the better floor, the safer floor because of the volume. That's why I went with Drake.
Yeah, I don't know. I know it's just Peyton Barber, but he's been known to steal those goal line looks, and you never know with John Gruden. I feel like his comment earlier in the week where he was very adamant that they had Peyton Barber and that he was going to be used just makes me think that he's very safe with the idea of Drake as the change of pace and the receiving back, which they might need this week. He might get a little extra work, but yeah, I don't know. That situation just is a little muddy for me. Jarvis, we know what Jarvis is going to do,
Right, and that's a solid point because Peyton Barber has pissed me off more than one time.
You and everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, on one side of the ball or the other, either he's on your lineup doing nothing or he's on your opponent's lineup doing something,
right,
or he's on your bench doing something, or he's on your waiver wire. So yeah,
guy.
he's just all over the place, but it's always bad things with that guy. The next question coming from Sleeper again. We got a half PPR flex. We got Cortland Sutton, Mike Davis, or Latavius.
Ooh, that's a tough one. Because go ahead, Justin.
No, I'm just gonna say. I kind of feel like for me, it's going to be a running back in this situation until we see more of what that offense is going to look like with Denver. So if I have to decide between a Denver wide receiver and a starting running back, I would probably go with Mike Davis here. I don't think that Atlanta is going to be as bad as we saw them. And I think Philadelphia's defense is a little better than we were giving them credit for to start the season. So I'm going to go with Mike Davis because I want to see what he has to show.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was encouraging that Mike Davis was out there for a lot of it, for a lot of the plays last Sunday, but they're going against the Buccaneers, and that run defense scares the hell out of me. Yep. So yep. I actually just suggested him. He was one of my no-brainer sits this week in my article, No-Brainers and Migrainers. I just don't really want a running back going against the Bucs right now. Because maybe, especially with the Cowboys coming out with that game plan to just abandon the run from the get-go and, take to the air to try to beat them that way. And they were almost successful. So I wonder if that's going to be a blueprint for some other teams. But yeah, Mike Davis scares me. So I actually think Cortland Sutton has a bounce back. He, got a little acclimated last week, especially with Jerry Jeudy coming out, or is, out with the injury. I think Cortland Sutton takes a step forward here in his comeback, and he performs this week. So I'd probably go Cortland Sutton.
I actually do too. I do really like me some Latavius Murray in this instance right here, just because I think Steve is just getting ready to say the hot hand approach that they're sitting there talking about. I worry that could be Latavius, especially for all my ownership shares of Tyson Williams. But I do feel like the most consistent guy that we're looking at right here that I feel like is going to give us the best value. And again, Mike Davis facing that Tampa Bay run defense. I can see that Tampa Bay game being really low scoring. Not much happening in it. So I'm going to lean in Cortland Sutton here as well. And then I do feel bad. I think we did skip over the question right there on that. Sorry about that, Justin. So go ahead with Josh Crockers. Let's go ahead and get him.
So Josh Crocker is from Clock Dodgers podcast. The Clock Dodgers podcast is a year-round football podcast that also does a lot with fantasy. Great dudes to have in the industry. So check them out at Clock Dodgers. But Josh Crocker jumps in here and says Fournette or Christian Kirk. So we have Fournette. We already mentioned Tampa Bay's playing Atlanta, so he's got that juicy matchup. And then Christian Kirk coming off of that two touchdown game is now playing against Minnesota this week.
No, that's my answer to that. No, or no.
And this high-speed guest jumped on here without a charger for my computer, so I'll be right back.
Awesome.
I think for that one, I agree. No, I don't really want to have to start either of them, but I think Ronald Jones has the week this week. I think he's going to come back and actually do something against that Atlanta defense. But I think I'd still have to go Fournette just for the floor because I feel like he's still going to get work in the offense this week, even if Ronald Jones ends up going off. I still think Fournette gets enough work to give you a safe floor. Christian Kirk could have been a complete aberration, with those two touchdowns. I know he looked all right, but he hasn't been impressing us much, as of late, even end of last year. So I'd probably go with Fournette for the floor, but I really don't want to start either one of them.
Well, Christian Kirk is just famous for being that guy who does I'm going to come out there and give you 2 touchdowns. See you at Christmas. Yeah. And then, and then he'll come back and he'll do it again on Christmas. And then maybe a week after that, and then he shuts down for the rest of the season. So I'm with you. You still got AJ Green out there contending for targets. You got DeAndre Hopkins, who's going to be the hog. They're going everywhere. And then you've got Murray, who's running it. I love Christian Kirk. I do, but give me the volume play. I'm definitely taking Leonard Fournette, and it's a lot closer than I'd like because I love Fournette to exceed on that offense. But I can't argue with you. I do feel like Ronald Jones does have himself a pretty decent day-to-day, enough to where I'm starting him.
And I also went with Fournette there because I read into what Arian said earlier in the week where he feels like all 3 of his backs this week are going to be starter number 1, starter number 1B, and starter number 1C. So I feel like all 3 of the guys are going to get a heavy workload today against that Atlanta defense. I don't feel that they're going to try to push it. Brady at the end of last season and through the playoffs, the reason they were so good is because he just gave what the defense gave him. He only did what he needed to make sure he won the game. I don't think he's going to push the passing game nearly as much this week, and all 3 of those running backs are going to have great weeks. And I even told them in the chat that I would even start Gio Bernard over Christian Kirk this week.
That's spicy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Gio Bernard's that's a tough one right there because I feel like he's the guy that's just going to come out of nowhere and be very fantasy relevant over the next couple of weeks here.
I feel like we need to get Uncle Steve on the show because he just keeps bringing up this Ravens backfield. I think he really wants to talk Ravens football here. So he's got a comment here now that Ravens said they would run with the hot hand 49. Oh, okay. I think he's just clearing up what he said earlier. Gotcha.
But he says, who do you go with, though, there? Tyson Williams, Ayuk, or Javonte Williams?
Yeah. So
I would go with Tyson Williams. I know they said they're going to run the hot hand, but I feel like he's more guaranteed that work in the backfield. I still think he's going to be the first back out there. Ayuk, I don't know. I had to take him out of my own lineups because I just don't know how or if he's going to get used yet. I kind of want to see it before I, rely on him. And still looks like Melvin Gordon's the RB1 in Denver, at least for now, which is what I've been predicting all offseason. But I think Javonte will get his chance eventually, but I think Tyson has the higher floor out of all of them, so I'd probably go with him.
Same. I feel like it's the hot hand approach, but it's going to be his hot hand to lose, right? Like he'll be out there first. As long as he can go out there and be serviceable, he's not going to go anywhere. Although, Latavius Murray's sneaky, and he loves to steal fantasy points from people. And that said, though, I still have to lean that because I just didn't like what I saw with Ayuk yet. I'm really kind of not high on that game being a high-scoring opportunity game. And then Javonte Williams, although he did play 50% of the snaps, they were very low usage. I think Denver's kind of a smokescreen too, and I say that as a hardcore Denver fan. I think they're kind of a smokescreen. I think they'll do okay today against Jags, but I just don't think that we're going to see the Javonte Williams that we want to see unless Melvin Gordon really does something to lose that spot. Well, right now it's definitely his to lose.
What kind of a game are we going to finally see Javonte Williams come in and make an impact in, though? Is it going to be the kind of game where they're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars and they're up by a lot? You see what I mean?
See, and I don't know that they're going to be up by a lot. I mean, I can see if anybody can go out there and screw up against the Jags, it's Teddy Bridgewater. He's just such a conservative quarterback that he doesn't – where he can get out there and step on people's throats, he doesn't. He just sits back there in the pocket and maintains a very slow-paced game. Even when, like I said, I feel like you can get up on the Jaguars quick, but I don't think this is a team that will get up on the Jaguars quick is all I'm saying.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I think I'm probably going with Javonte Williams personally, just because I feel strongly that Murray is going to take more and more of that backfield away in Baltimore, and Javonte is going to slowly take more and more of that backfield away from Gordon, and they were both good enough and close enough last week that I think we're going to start seeing that shift as soon as this week.
I agree with that. Definitely. So here's one right here. 1 point PPR. Would you choose Jalen Waddle or Laviska Shenault?
I guess Waddle. He's the one that has actually shown something so far. And not that Laviska didn't show anything. He just didn't get a lot of opportunity to really show anything in week one. And if you're not going to have that opportunity to show against Houston, when are you going to get that opportunity to show?
Right.
Yeah,
I completely agree with that.
That passing game still scares me. And especially Laviska, just because, like I said, like I've been saying, I'm just afraid they see him more as that, kind of gadget guy more than like a traditional receiver because, DJ Shark and Marvin Jones were the ones getting the, downfield work and like the expanded routes and things like that. So I think I'm going to go with Waddle as well. He seems to be really showing why they drafted him where he did. He was open a lot last Sunday. So yeah, I'm going to have to go with Waddle. And Jacksonville's playing Denver, and Denver's secondary is no joke.
Yeah, that Denver secondary and that Denver front four, and that middle pack, man. Denver's defense is legitimate. I think if Teddy Bridgewater can maintain, they can actually be competitive. Although I don't see him getting past the high octane teams like they can. Like I said, get out there and jump on your throat like Kansas City and Buffalo can. Like those two teams are just too good at doing that and exploiting little tiny weaknesses fast. That's where that's where I feel like Teddy Bridgewater falls short. Mm-hmm. Eli Mitchell or James Robinson, half PPR.
Eli Mitchell. I've said my concerns about James Robinson. He definitely doesn't look like he's going to be the fantasy asset he was last year. And that Jaguars team, pretty much just the ideology behind them is scaring me. I just don't know how good they're ever going to actually be this year, or if they're going to be, even decent at all. So, I'm gonna go with the other one, not James Robinson. Elijah Mitchell. That's I was like, he just said it.
Whoever it is, it's that guy.
Yeah, whoever I'm talking about. I just don't like this guy bad enough. I somewhat agree with that. I think I'm playing Mitchell as well. I don't like sitting James Robinson because of where I drafted him. Although I did draft him to be my RB3 and in my flex, I do like to flex him early in the season type thing. But again, that Denver defense, I'm not really excited about putting anybody up against them until further notice. Like I said, I'm not sitting my Kansas City studs or my Buffalo studs, but pretty much everybody else, I think you might want to take caution against that defense if they can stay healthy. Especially, they're going to be lights out, boys.
I agree.
We got the thumbs up.
We got a thumbs up for that one. Let's see. Would you guys flex wide receiver? We got Tim Patrick, Cole Beasley, Juju Smith, or Mike Pittman Jr.
Say those one more time.
Tim Patrick, Cole Beasley, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Mike Pittman Jr.
Ooh, that's a toughie. There's a lot of choices there. Go ahead, Justin.
Juju's playing against the Raiders. I've got a pretty strong feeling that there's going to be a lot of passing in that game. I don't know that the Raiders can really keep up with that Steelers defense, though. But if they can show what they showed against the Ravens defense, albeit a banged up Ravens defense, but I think I might go Juju with this one.
I don't mind that. I feel like Tim Patrick for me with Judy out. I'm going to be starting Tim Patrick because it seemed like every single play that was the guy that was getting the ball. Cole Beasley, honorable mention. That'd be my second step right there. I like Cole Beasley a lot today too. Buffalo and that tough Miami defense. So
yeah, it's probably between Patrick and Beasley for me as well. But I think I would go Cole Beasley here. So I don't know if we're gonna have even one consensus take. But he's out there. He got just as much. He was like mirroring Stephon Diggs' usage, just closer to the line of scrimmage. And not necessarily, Diggs was getting the downfield stuff, but Beasley was out there for just as much. He was running just as many routes. He was out there for, just as much time. So I think I would go Beasley. But Patrick would be, it's really close between those two. So I'd be okay with Patrick as well, but I think it's one of those two for sure.
Here's a tiebreaker for you. Rich chimed in. Rich says Patrick. So
Patrick,
there's your tiebreaker for whoever was asking that question.
Yeah, sorry, that was a lot of options. It's hard when you have that many options.
And that's sometimes it's really hard when you give us your whole entire lineup and say pick one. But but we're gonna do our best to narrow it down to one, at least have 2-on-1 or something to that. But don't be surprised when you ask like 10 different names that we all come up with a separate one at the end of it. Hopefully just the breakdown and the analysis of each one gets you where you want to go. Who would you guys start between Darrell Henderson and Damian Harris?
Who are the Rams?
I'm going with Damian Harris. They're playing the Jets, and the Jets, they look bad at times, but they also look good at times. I think New England can handle that pretty well. So yeah, I can see a positive game script for Harris in that one in a way that's good enough that I want to keep playing him because he looked really good when he got the ball, and they did utilize him a lot.
Well, and then Sony Michel's had another week under that offense and everything like that. I completely agree. Even if Sony Michel wasn't a part of that situation, I love me some Damian Harris. This week, I think they're going to tear up the Jets. I think they're going to shut that offense down. That defense wasn't looking too bad last week. They looked like they had a few misfires, but you know how Bill Belichick rolls. They're going to start settling in. That defense is going to be real. Zach Wilson did great week one. He's going to look probably pretty bad. He's going to look like a rookie today, I have a feeling.
Yeah, definitely sit your Zach Wilsons if you have them because Bill Belichick loves going up against rookie quarterbacks, but I'm going to have to go with Damian Harris as well. I think they're going to be on top most of the game, and he should get plenty of work running, keeping that clock running, and so that the Patriots can go in, beat them up, and get out.
Yeah,
they're at home too, so they like showing up at Foxborough.
And my Colts defense looked like trash, especially in that secondary. I feel like the Rams are going to be able to throw the ball all over the field today and do whatever they want to that secondary. So I don't think they're going to have to lean too heavily on that run game.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I just misspoke. They are not at Foxborough. They are at MetLife, but I don't think that affects the Patriots at all.
No. They've got, like I said, they've got Nuclear Bill. They just lost. Although I feel like that was a really, really tough loss. I feel like that was a damn good football game. The more I watch about that, the more I like Mac Jones and Tua. I think both those guys are really coming down, looking really good. Mac Jones, I mean, of course, that was his first shot. But I feel like everybody kept saying he just proved that he's better than Tua. I think you're going to see a lot of growing pains with Mac Jones, the same as we did with Tua in this first season. But, wow, who got a lot more usage than I was ready for was Jacoby Myers. So I was definitely pretty glad I grabbed him late in every single draft and sat him. But definitely excited about making him go point forward. Justin, you got another one here for you. Why don't you go ahead and ask this for Beryl Joffrey?
It's Joffrey, yeah. Beryl Joffrey. He's been a huge supporter of the show of Toilets of Titles from day one. Probably between him and Uncle Steve and Rich, who's now on the show. I probably couldn't tell you which one was the first guest to chime in and help us out. But Beryl is he's also the recipient of I believe it was Gardner Minshew card giveaway that we had. So that was pretty cool. But anyway, he is asking about Chris Carson, James Robinson, or Darrell Henderson, and this is he only starts one running back in this league, and those are the three he has. So he only choose one out of those three.
Okay. I'm leaning Carson here, and it's not really even that close. He's the feature back over there. Rashad Penny's on the IR. I'm not really too worried about too much backup action, especially from Alex Collins. I know I saw a lot of hype around him this week. Carson for me. Yep,
I'm going to go Carson as well. Yeah, exactly what Mike said. I don't think it's particularly close. I think he's, bona fide. He's probably a low-end RB1, high-end RB2, on a week in and week out basis. So I think he's definitely got the pick for me.
Hey guys, if anybody's watching this, please go check out my Twitter at JustinFF.
Did it post now?
Oh, I gotta check this out here real quick too. But real quick, I noticed Uncle Steve had something to say about that there. He said Harris did have sorry about that. Had that fumble, it might have put him in the doghouse. Right? We can all say whatever we want. Don't be shocked if we never see Harris play football again. Get Jonas Grade. Remember when he was supposed to start that week and they said he was an active scratch, and then the very next week he was off the team. So I don't lay all your – but if you do see that he's at the game and he's going to start, Damian Harris ought to be the guy for sure.
On that note, though, Ramondre Stevenson lost a fumble as well. So – and that one was just as important, I think, as the Harris fumble. So if that's what they're going off of, it's going to be James White then, and then we're all screwed anyway. So
yeah, but I got Ramondre Stevenson for free in so many leagues, so I need to figure out a way that fits my narrative to get Ramondre
to get this guy to work for me now.
Thinking negatively about Ramondre.
Howard Kim asks, Mike Williams or Allen Robinson the second?
That's A-Rob all day for me. He's a bona fide wide receiver one. He's going to get 8 to 10 targets probably today. Mike Williams, I feel like that was he comes in, he's a flash in the pan all the time. He comes in, he has big blow up games like that, and then you don't see him for 4 weeks, or he hurts himself because he doesn't like landing on his feet. So I definitely roll out Allen Robinson, easy peasy. We knew he was going to have a tough matchup last week against Ramsey. I think it should definitely get easier this week.
Yeah, for sure. And I wish you could start both of them, to be honest with you. I think they'll both have a really good game. But I have a strong feeling that Chargers and Cowboys game is going to be the highest scoring game of the week. So if that's the case, if that's going to be the highest scoring game of the week, I want as many pieces in there as possible. And so while on most any given week, I would probably say Allen Robinson. I think I'm going to go with Mike Williams here, and also mostly because this is my weekly opportunity to make Mike have to make the tie-breaking decision.
I'm kind of almost sold on the way you just pitched that right there, because I do really like the matchup that's coming down against Dallas right there. And, man, there's plenty of targets to go around with. I call it a lack of a running game. I feel like they might be kind of in pause mode with Austin Eckler, Larry Roundtree, everybody that's back there. I don't really think that they're a run-first offense like they used to be. I think they might be sticking to a pass-first approach. So, I mean, I want that volume, and so give me Williams until I can see it. Yeah, and that's another reason why. Like, I don't like receivers with new quarterbacks. I like tight ends and I like running backs. I don't like receivers with new quarterbacks.
But I do like running quarterbacks. So if you, this is definitely a week to watch Fields and see what he can do in that offense. And the thing about Fields is I'm not even completely sold that he's just a running quarterback either. He's just a good quarterback. He just happened to have a really good run in week 1 to get that score. So I love Fields in the future. I really do. And Steve is pushing Fields more and more into my brain every week.
Yeah, Fields looked real comfortable out there when he got his chances. The first week, even against the Rams, he looked real comfortable, and he looked like he's going to be a pro. Like, he looks like he's already a pro. That run I was watching that game, and I'm like, oh my God, it was like he's nowhere to go. Like, what's he going to do? And then somehow he just slipped right in through all those guys. I was like, holy shnikes.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's going to be the real deal. That's why it doesn't scare me too much with Fields in there.
Would you guys rather have Fields or Bridgewater rest of season?
Fields.
Yep. See, that's 3 people in this room that are smarter than John Elway. To get back to the sleeper questions right here, I got one right here. Would you guys trade away Ridley for JJ? For JJ, I'm not too sure who that is.
Justin Jefferson.
Josh Jacobs.
Justin Jefferson.
Probably Justin Jefferson. Or
Let's go
JJ
with Justin
Taylor.
Jefferson. Would you trade Ridley for Justin Jefferson?
Or is he talking about Stephen Ridley for JJ Taylor?
Right. Is this an IDP question? Well, we'll need more. Depth there.
I want Justin Jefferson out of Calvin Ridley or Justin Jefferson. I want Justin Jefferson, and I do believe that Calvin Ridley is the better athlete, the better wide receiver. But I feel like one of them is a lot closer to having a quarterback retire or having a quarterback drop off the edge, and that quarterback is Matt Ryan. And I think we saw a lot of that this past weekend. Kirk Cousins is consistently an underrated quarterback that nobody gives him credit for, but he finds ways to get the ball to his receivers. And plus, I'm just a huge Justin Jefferson fan. Like, he might be the first NFL player that I own a jersey of that isn't a Colt here pretty soon. So I'm a big fan of Justin Jefferson. So I might have a little bit of bias here, but those are my reasoning.
Yeah, I think I'd have to go with Ridley, though. I think he's still – Justin Jefferson is going to have Ridley's got competition from Pitts now, but he's a rookie, so I think Ridley still has the lock on that passing offense.
For sure.
I know Matt Ryan didn't look great, and the Atlanta offense didn't look that great, but I think he's still got the higher upside. Because Thielen looked pretty good last week, and he was definitely Kirk's first read on a lot of plays,
especially the red zone.
Yeah, so I think for now, maybe next year, I'd probably prefer Jefferson, going into the future, going forward. But I think for this year, I'm going to stick with Ridley.
Yep.
I think so too. I think Atlanta looked like a dumpster fire last week. That was apparent. But I think there's going to be a lot of teams that look like a dumpster fire against that Tampa Bay defense. I mean, they bring that out of a lot of better teams. Like, just watch the Super Bowl and tell me who looked worse. Was it Patrick Mahomes or Matt Ryan? And you're going to tell me Patrick Mahomes looked like garbage. I mean, that was a really, really sad performance. Had nothing to do with him as an athlete, him as a skilled player position. Had everything to do with him being shocked, awed, and not knowing what to do. Surprised it also happened to Matt Ryan. Again, it's going to happen to a lot more people than that as this, especially as the year goes down, because those guys are only going to get stronger and stronger and start gelling again and getting those feelings going again. So,
Mike, I didn't know you could see the future.
I can see the future.
That's Atlanta's matchup this week. They played Philly last week.
No, I'm saying, oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny. No, that's what I was saying. Yeah, I can see the future. So I'm saying Ridley is a fade this week. No.
Rich would also take Ridley, but he's also wrong.
Right.
Oh, shoot.
Right.
Yeah.
For entirely different reasons. Who did you guys take? DJ Moore or Deontay Johnson?
Did you say DJ Moore or Deontay Johnson?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
I did.
So I think I'm still going to go with DJ Moore. I know that Saints defense looked really good last week, but it's so hard to bench DJ Moore. The guy is consistently good, and he has a really good floor. So Deontay Johnson against the Raiders is also a really good matchup. Don't get me wrong, but I just feel like this might be the opportunity this week for Pittsburgh to get that run game going, to see what they have with Najee Harris. So I'm going to go with DJ Moore.
I'm going to have to go with Deontay Johnson. Now, I am a Deontay Johnson stan, so maybe that's my bias creeping in. But I think that Steelers Raiders game is going to be kind of a shootout. I think Najee will have a decent week as well because he was out there all the time. But I think they're going to be in the air a lot going against the Raiders. So I'm going to take Deontay Johnson over DJ Moore.
Whoops. I can't talk with the mute. I actually think that I'm also leaning towards Deontay Johnson as well. I think last week was kind of a down week for him. I think Juju Smith and him going to eat. Honestly, I feel like Pittsburgh's going to really kind of come out and because, again, they had a pretty tough matchup last week, too, with Buffalo. So I think they're going to look a lot better this week. I think you're going to see those weapons of theirs that usually shine the way they typically do. So get them out there. We got Joe Clark has a pretty big one. He's got a Superflex question. He's got Dak as his quarterback one, Bridgewater, and Daniel Jones to choose from for Superflex. Jones already played Thursday night, but who to choose going forward? If so, opponent dependent.
Yeah, so I think what he's trying to get at here, because Joe is actually he's on our team, and if you've seen our show, you know Joe because he's been all over the place, real active here recently. So, but Joe is more of our strictly NFL guy. He doesn't do a lot with fantasy. He's just now kind of getting into fantasy. So I think what he's trying to ask here is he already started Daniel Jones for this week, or he's already played for this week. So this question isn't strictly about this week. He just means moving forward. So I definitely believe that you have a good situation here, Joe. You've got Dak as your number one quarterback week in, week out. You're going to start him no matter what. And then you play the matchups between Bridgewater and Danny Jones and see what you got. Now, the downside that you have is your absolute love for the Giants, which is the same downfall that I have with the Colts. Sometimes I start guys for the Colts that I probably shouldn't, just because of my love for the team. So don't fall into that and start Danny Jones too much over Bridgewater if Bridgewater has a good matchup too.
Yeah, it's definitely that's a good streaming option to have though, because Bridgewater is definitely going to be your floor guy when you think Daniel Jones has a iffy matchup, but Daniel Jones also has a pretty good ceiling. So if you think it's a better matchup, you can slot him in and hope for the best and hope he doesn't fumble it 4 times in a game or something stupid. But like personally this week, I probably would have said Teddy Bridgewater just because of the matchup.
Yeah.
But I would have been wrong.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about that?
Potentially.
Potentially. I don't know. Daniel Jones had a pretty good game, put up some pretty good numbers. So, but that's where you're it's gonna be a little give and take. I think they're pretty even though for your options. Like I said, Teddy's gonna be your floor play. Daniel Jones is definitely the ceiling play because I don't think Teddy he's just gonna manage the game and he's not gonna like Mike has been saying, he's not going to step on anyone's throats. He's just going to make sure you get to the end of the game, in a positive script. So.
Right. Perfectly content with 7-3, 10-3, things like that. Things at the points that the defense is apparently going to allow right there. And Bridgewater, I feel like, the rest of the season, I don't know if his season's quite guaranteed because he's still got Drew Lock sitting in the background, who is a perfectly serviceable quarterback in most given situations. So I feel like all that Teddy Bridgewater has to do is one mistake, and we'll see him be benched for the rest of the season. So we're getting a lot of questions about DeAndre Swift. Would you guys do DeAndre Swift or Justin Jefferson today?
Well, so Swift plays Monday Night Football, which is always a decent little bonus to have in your roster so that you know that you always still have a chance no matter what. Jefferson is facing that what looked like a really tough Arizona defense. So that one could be brutal. That one could be a battle. I feel like because Swift is questionable and he was banged up and he only had limited practice yesterday. So that one kind of scares you on a Monday night. I think if he's healthy, I would go with Swift if I'm confident that he's going to play. But I also know that you're going to have a really angry Aaron Rodgers again, only this time at home against a divisional opponent after a really bad game. Kind of see a lot more Jamal Williams in that matchup. So I'm still going to go with Justin Jefferson.
I'm going to have to go with DeAndre Swift. It was encouraging because they were down all game last week, and he was getting the receiving work. He got, 8? Both backs got like 6 or 7 targets or 6 or 7 catches. So I think that's a plus for DeAndre against the Packers on Monday. But but because of the injury, if you can't get like Jamal Williams or like AJ Dillon, depending on your league size, which both of them are probably already owned, you need an option to make sure that you have someone for Monday night. So maybe you go with Justin Jefferson just for the safe. But if you're willing to, no risk it, no biscuit, I'd go Swift.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's way to play.
I feel like Swift has a safer floor by a bunch. He's going to get the volume play. For me, it's usually always going to be the volume play over all of it. So definitely taking Swift there myself. Next question there. Devontae Smith or Javonte Williams? Flex play, half PPR.
Say that again.
Devonta Smith or Javonte Williams? Javonte Williams.
I'm going to go with Devonta Smith. He looks like a stud out there on the field. I know they're going up against San Francisco, but San Francisco's secondary is banged up. Verrett tore his ACL last week, and they just kind of look lost out there in the secondary. And he's definitely Jalen Hurts' first read, and he's always open. I watched part of that game last week, and every single play he had like a yard of separation at least, from the defender. So I'd probably go with Devonta Smith here.
Yeah, I believe that Smith is going to have an incredible rookie season. I really do. This particular situation, though, I'm not as confident or lack of confident in the Denver Broncos as Mike is. I really feel strongly that they're going to be able to handle Jacksonville pretty well. That Urban Meyer team just looked completely uninspired last week. Like they had absolutely nothing to play for, and they're already trying to start rumors about Urban Meyer going to USC, and it gave me such a I'm not going to be the Alabama coach vibe from Nick Saban that we had several years ago with that Miami experience. So not that I think that Urban's going to leave, but just the fact that all those rumors are already flying because everybody already sees how bad it is. That's a really bad team. I'm going to go with Javonte Williams.
I am too, and it's close for me because I do like Devontae, but I want to see more from him. And like I said, getting 50% of that offense to me is well worth the volume on that to an unknown. Like I said, I liked his action that I saw out of him last week, but I've got to see that again. I don't think Philly had that tough of a defense that they were facing. So I think I want to see them with a little bit of a tighter defense to go up against before I start getting too excited about them. Let's see here. Next question. There's which defense are we going with today, guys? Browns, Bears, Cardinals, or Broncos?
See, so the Browns are playing Houston, so it's the Browns. But then we have the Bears, the Cardinals, and who else? Definitely not the Cardinals. I know they played really well this past week, but they're playing the Vikings. It's the Vikings offense is still at least on it.
Yeah, but their O-line, the Vikings O-line was real
Chandler
leaky.
Jones.
True,
I was laughing.
You could get 10 sacks for sure.
Within the first 2 games, Chandler Jones might literally be in double-digit sacks.
Yeah.
Like he had 5 last week. That offensive line isn't going to slow him down. I'm thinking he might get 5 more today, and that would be something. I'm leaning Arizona here for that reason. Chandler Jones is a nightmare this year.
Who are the other 2 options?
It was Browns, Bills, Bears, Cardinals.
Yes.
So the Bills and the Bears are who I was thinking. Yeah.
Browns, Bears, Cardinals, Broncos. Browns.
Well,
Bears,
I'm not too upset with Arizona. You can convince me of that. I mean, because they are going to get a lot of sacks, and sacks get points. So even if they do give up a lot of yards and maybe even a decent number of points, those sacks can also cause fumbles. They can cause interceptions. So you get points off of those turnovers. So, yeah, I could see that. I'm okay with that.
I have a league where I had Chandler Jones score me 60 points last week because of everything he was just such a nightmare out there. Half PPR, Aguilar or Gage?
Ooh, that's a good one. See, these are the kind of questions I like. The ones that actually make me, think about it.
Things that make you go,
Yeah, it's very discouraging to see that Gage didn't have a single catch last game. I think that changes, but I think I'd still go Aguilar because he's the first option there. He's definitely the wide receiver 1 on that team. It seems to be. I think I'm gonna have to go with Aguilar against the Jets. I think they're gonna, we were talking about them just going out, stepping, trying to get on top real fast, but I think that comes by, through the air at the beginning of the game. And then they'll probably, run it out as the game goes on. But I'm going to have to go with Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah, it turns out the Buccaneers aren't just only good against the run. They're also pretty good against the pass as well. It also turns out, like I said, that Matt Ryan has probably lost it. But the thing about Matt Ryan is like every other week he's going to do really great. So they did really bad last week, and now this is a week where you expect he's not going to do well. So he's probably going to bounce back and do crazy things. But I'm leaning towards Aguilar as well. But here's the downside to that. The few times in his career that I've ever trusted Aguilar and put him in my starting lineup, he's let me down miserably. So there's just something to consider there. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with Aguilar as well.
Muted again. It's really weird that Aguilar's still a thing. Like, I just thought that once he left that team, it was going to be the end of him. But here he is. And, yeah, I feel like I'm Aguilar too. I really like Aguilar this week. The guy's seeming to be able to catch the ball and hold on to the ball, which is something he's never been able to do. But, yeah, I need to Gage, you're on my bench, buddy. I want to see it. But I do feel like, that defensive situation was kind of stacked against them. Poor Atlanta. And they're not looking any better this week. Let's see. We got Claypool or Darrell Henderson, PPR.
I'm going to go with Darrell Henderson on this one. I think it's just a pure volume play for me. He's still going to get most of the work. I think Sony might see the field a little bit more. But I think Darrell's going to be the guy they use in all the, the situations where they need the guy they trust. And Claypool, he could have a big game or he couldn't have a big game. You just never know with the type of receiver he is. And I didn't see enough out of Big Ben's arm last week that convinces me that he can get it downfield for those big shots, which is what Claypool looks like he's going to be, primed for. But I'm going to have to go with the volume play of Henderson here over Claypool.
Same here, like you said. Like Claypool is really good about doing 3 for 75 and 2 touchdowns, or 3 for 17. And like that 3 for 17 scares me enough that I feel like Henderson, although I'm really not liking what I'm seeing out of that backfield for Los Angeles right now, because gosh dang, Stafford is just gunning it. And until they have to not do that, I feel like they're just going to keep doing that. I mean, they paid the guy for his arm, and they're going to use that arm, and they're going to use it up. So I like Henderson a little bit more than Claypool, just because I feel like even that little bit and piece is enough for me to go with the volume. Right here. We got to take it to the hizzy. He says, happy morning, gents. Happy Sunday. Best of luck in all your plays. Yeah, right back at you. Take it to the hizzy, man. I like that your thing is tithe right there. Make them pay right there. But yeah, running back always over receiver when it's close, and that's especially more and more true as we get closer to winter time and the cold season as well. So that is something to take a factor in. Receivers, I almost give the edge around this time of year, but it's just barely. But it's got to be the right receiver too. Let's see here. We got Justin Jenkins asking, Cooper or Ridley?
Yeah, so Justin Jenkins is actually a buddy of mine. He's in my fantasy home league, and I'm trying to find ways to get this group chat that we're in together to start listening and paying attention to the show more often. So I threw his question out that he just asked the group chat, and I shared it with that group chat. So if you guys are watching, appreciate you. Thanks. I had to throw out one of your questions to get you to watch, but that's okay. That's okay. I respect it. But no, so I'm going to go with Cooper here for the same reasons that I was talking earlier about how I think that's going to be potentially the highest scoring game of the week. So I want pieces of that game. And until I see more consistency from that Falcons offense, I'm going to roll with Cooper.
Yep. I'm going with what Justin said. I was literally going to say, because of what Justin said earlier about that being a high-scoring game. Hey, there he is. Hey Justin. But yeah, no, I'm going to go with Cooper as well, because I do want pieces in that game, and I think that the Dallas offense is just going to be more consistently in the air and putting up big numbers than the Falcons right now, especially against the Buccaneers. So yeah, I'm going to go with Cooper.
I always think of that Kevin Spacey meme where he's like, and like that, he was gone. When I think about Amari Cooper, because he is really, really good about showing up and then just disappearing for the rest of the season. And then he'll make a quick special appearance. He is Kaiser Sose. Amari Cooper is Kaiser Sose. So I'm going with Ridley. I feel like that Atlanta has a pretty not a high enough floor, but they're going to have to throw it enough. Like I said, I feel like this is going to be a really, really low-scoring game against Tampa. I even tweeted that I feel like this could be like 13-7. But I feel like that 7 could easily be Ridley just because of his talent level is so excessive and everything that he can do on that field. And I cannot have faith in Cooper. And just real quick to let you know there, Justin Jenkins, is that if you join our Patreon, you can ask Uncle Steve, who's also in here, that I work extra hard about trying to beat individual toilets for titles people. So if you ever want to have help and one-on-one advice line up, I'd say to get under our top tier Patreon, and then you can just ask me, and I'll do everything I can to help you whip Justin's ass. I promise. Like I said, ask Uncle Steve. I told him, I'm like, dude, hit me up 24/7, whatever I got to do to help you, man, because it's fun. And it's funny watching these guys lose and then cry about it because they lost too.
And another plus too, Justin Jenkins, is that I know you work like 80 hours a week, so you don't have time to look at anything else anyway. So just go ahead and get that advice from Dirty Jobs.
And we can beat Justin together.
I'm okay with that.
He's like he says, Rodgers putting in the overtime. See? I even went and played a whole NFL game last week. It's hard. It's hard. Oh, back to the questions here. We got a few more on there. We starting Johnny Smith or Jared Cook this week? I don't even know if I saw if Johnny Smith, was he playing or not?
He's still questionable.
I think it's Cook either way.
Yeah, I think it is too.
I think I agree. I do like Hunter Henry today because if they do have Johnny Smith, I think that he may be more of a blocking capacity with the injury. But Jared Cook, man, he still looks good. I feel like I've been talking about Jared Cook being good in fantasy football since I started fantasy football, which I think was Frank Gore's rookie year or 1965. We got Gaskin, Mitchell, or Jamal Williams.
I'm probably going to lean towards Mitchell here. And I think with Mitchell getting the workload here, because Shanahan did say that he will get the workload, I'm gonna lean towards Mitchell on this one. Let's see if he can rekindle that same game.
Yeah, probably be between Mitchell and oh my God, the last guy, not
Jamal
Gaskin,
Williams.
Jamal Williams. Yeah, because Jamal was out there for he was getting just as much work as DeAndre Swift, even in the passing game. And I think that they're gonna need to play catch up in that game because Rodgers is gonna come out and show what he's about. But I think I'm gonna have to agree with Justin. I think he just edges out just a little bit over Jamal Williams.
Well, I was just thinking though, Monday Night Football. What happens if So if you need a big play potential, there's still that threat that Swift may not play. So if you need a high ceiling, then I might actually play Williams here because you might get lucky and Swift sit out or not be able to play to 100%. Jamal gets more looks playing from behind against that Packers defense that really wasn't all that great. So yeah, I mean, there's potential there. So I'd say high ceiling, go with Williams. Better floor, we're going to roll with Mitchell. How does that sound?
And I completely agree with that whole entire analysis right there. And as long as we can all agree, do not start Myles Gaskins. Come on, guys. We're better than that. We're smarter than that.
Oh.
Ramondre is inactive today. Whoa, that's news.
Fire up your Damian Harris.
Yeah,
so that Harris versus Henderson question earlier, it's a no-brainer now.
It's not even kind of close anymore.
Nope.
Not even kind of close. DeAndre Swift. Oh, we did that one already. We got Julio Jones and Miles Sanders, PPR.
Ooh, I like that one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I like that one. I think Julio's going to have something to prove for sure this week. I've kind of pegged him all week for having a good week this week against Seattle. But at the same time, I mean, Miles Sanders is getting the majority of the looks, but I feel like Miles Sanders didn't get as many of the snaps as I anticipated he was going to get in week one. So give me Julio. Give me Julio to bounce back over a running back, which is rare for me to take a wide receiver over a running back.
Yeah, I'll probably go Julio as well. I think that whole Titans offense has something to prove with how poor they looked in week one. So I think they all come back and, pretty much all the Titans should have a decent game. And I'm not – I mean, maybe it's my bias creeping in as well. I'm not a huge Miles Sanders fan. He did get, decent amount of work last week. But I think Kenny Gainwell is going to start creeping up and taking that, receiving work because Miles can't catch a ball to save his life. So I think the floor play, would be Sanders just because he's going to get the work on the ground, the majority of the work on the ground. But I think I'm going to go Julio as well.
And if I can add too, I think that Titans offense, last week we saw a drop back quarterback in Tannehill. We didn't see a whole lot of aggressive run, play action, run, pass, run, play action. It was a whole lot of drop back passing. It looked a heck of a lot more like the Ryan Tannehill that we saw in Miami, which wasn't that great of a quarterback. That's why he came to Tennessee as a backup. And I think that team has to know that team has to run through Derrick Henry. I don't care if you have 17 Julio Joneses out there. Tannehill is not the quarterback to just drop back and be a drop back quarterback. He's great. He's efficient when it comes to being the second guy behind running the ball through Henry. So I've got a strong feeling we're going to see the Titans from last season come back out. We're going to see a whole lot of Henry, and we're going to see more efficient passing, which is really going to help open up that offense the way that we all anticipated over the offseason. And if not, then the next thing we should see is a coaching change.
I like that. I agree with that too, as well. Who do you guys got? You got tight end help, Higbee or Njoku?
Higbee. I like it. I liked that Njoku was involved in the offense last week. Like he had some good targets, and definitely was out there and was the passing. The tight end Baker was looking at. But I think Higbee and that Rams. I'd rather have a piece of the Rams offense than try to than the flash from Njoku. Now, I will say that I did pick Njoku up in a lot of places because I went a lot of late round tight end this year. If I couldn't get one of the 3 big ones or one of the 4 big ones, so I picked up Njoku a lot of places just to see if it's gonna pan out. But I'm holding back at least another week to see if he gets the same type of usage in a game script that's not going to be as high octane, not going against the Chiefs. So I'd go Higbee here. And I'm not a big Higbee guy, but I think I'd prefer Higbee.
And that means I'm putting you on the spot again, Mike, because I'm going to go with Njoku just primarily because of the usage that he got in week 1. Tight ends can take a long time to develop, and we saw some real talent early on in his career. That his rookie season, he actually played pretty well, and he's had injuries. He's had other tight ends come and take a lot of the role away, and maybe this is Njoku starting to really come around and take on that professional form for tight ends. And he's just taking the natural progression that a lot of tight ends take in this league, and it took him time to develop. And now maybe that's why Mayfield's targeting him. And they're playing Houston, so even though Houston looked really good against Jacksonville, it's still Houston. So until I see it against an actual good team, I'm gonna still continue to start players against Houston. So I'm gonna roll with Njoku.
And week 1, anybody.
Oh, you muted yourself.
So
no, I did mute. I tried to mute me, and I accidentally muted him. Sorry.
You don't care.
He's like, you will not argue with my point right here. Which I was almost just agreeing with it. Like as far as that goes, I'm just not on board with that kind of a matchup. I mean, going back to the one where we were talking about, like you guys were saying, Tennessee has a lot to prove. I do feel like Tennessee is going to want to get out there and prove themselves, but I don't think it's going to happen at Seattle. I think Seattle's defense has been revamped. They're looking pretty damn good. Russell Wilson's looking pretty good. I am fading most of my my Tennessee, but you guys both are on the Tennessee side of things, so I got that. Guys, it looks like we're kind of wrapped up here on questions. I think doesn't mean much, but Crowder's inactive. Yeah, I think we all kind of forgot he was there anyways. I don't even know if he's on a lot of places unless it's a dynasty league. I haven't been seeing him. I'm sure he's probably available on quite a few waiver wires right now, as it should be until we see anything going on. So, guys, unless we have anything else, we'll just go ahead and wrap this up. Just make sure you follow us at Toilets to Titles. Stay with us at latest and breaking news as far as anything in the NFL goes. Join our Patreon. Get on there. Get talking to us, man. We're there all the time. We can answer your questions 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Again, we've got Aussie backup support. It's like having air support, except just guys that are up at 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the morning. Like I said, when you're up going, man, I just don't know what I want to do or how I want to do this. So get going with that, guys. And with that, Justin, Alex, thank you guys both very much for joining me again. We will see you all next week with live phone action, boys. So be ready for that.